Hello and welcome. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to wrangle nodes in Blender. So this video assumes that you've come out of one of my other videos where you've set up maybe a fake PBR set of nodes, or you've got your normal map reconnected to your model, or you've been doing some texture painting, and that you are going to go beyond maybe just the basics of a few nodes and start setting up maybe some layers, doing decals. Quite frankly, getting your nodes wrangled can be helpful just from your own sanity and keeping things organized, but is even more important and almost invaluable if you're going to go into some of the more complex techniques like adding decals, doing color swaps, things like that. You're going to want to wrangle your nodes a bit. So let's dive in. So I've opened the Blender file that we've been working on. This one I've done a few touches up to, but this is one of my crow glue that I've been painting in the demos. And we're going to go to our shading tab. So in the shading tab, I'm going to make it to where we're just focused on the shaders. So first we'll start with the simplest. I can take these two nodes, which are my normal map image and my normal map node. I can grab them both by dragging and clicking, right click, and join in new frame. So now these exist in a frame and can be moved around as a little group. I can also make the frame easier to read on the tape on the sort of workspace by going over here. Well, there's two ways to do this. We can go ahead and expand our options over here by finding this tiny little arrow and clicking on it. From here, we can rename our node. So I'm going to call this my normals frame. So rename our frame. And we've got this frame named normals. I could also have done that by right-clicking the frame and renaming it. But the reason I'm over here is I actually want to change the color. So I'm going to change the color by checking the color box. And then I want to pick a color that reminds me of my normal map, so this sort of hazy blue. And I'm going to go with that. So now when I'm backed out and I have a bunch of complicated layers of shaders, I know, this is my normals group, and I can just throw this down here and not worry about it because I need more room to work. And it all stays organized. So that's handy. Another thing you can do is, I don't do this, especially when I'm doing a demo, because I think that I want to see everything. You can hit these arrows next to your nodes, and it will reduce them. You won't be able to see the options, but if you're done with them and you don't need to, this can be helpful, and you can always re-expand them. Another thing that I don't like to do, because I like to see everything, is you can hide unused connectors. So I could right-click the normal map, the normal map node, go to Show Hide, and hide unconnected sockets. So show hide. I'm on the wrong one, that's why. I apologize. Unconnected sockets, and now I only see my color socket. And if I did that over here, show hide unconnected sockets, our normal map would just look like this. Now, this to me is not as helpful as being able to see everything. And also, if you're looking at this demo and I've got everything hidden, then my stuff doesn't look like your stuff by default. So I'm going to go back in and make sure this is all looks like it normally would. So that's the basics of getting a frame and some things you can do, but I tend to choose not to do. So with our newly framed normals, all colorful, I'm going to put that down there. And now let's look at this. Now this isn't super messy by node standards, but it's getting there. So let's start by framing all of these that are related to our fake PBR. So I'm going to right click, join in new frame. So now I've got my frame for these guys. I can right click to rename. I'm going to call this the fake MAOR/PBR. And now that's labeled here. And I can go over here and I can change the color. And I'm going to change it to something kind of greenish because that reminds me of the texture of our, fake PBR MAOR. All right. So those are grouped, and we could just move on from there and just grab the group and move it away. Or there's more. We can actually start organizing the wires. So you'll notice that this here we've got from our fake PBR, the alpha is used in our color ramp and to invert over to be our roughness. Now, that's fine, but things start crossing under each other and crossing over each other, which can be confusing. And if we can prevent it, we can prevent it. So what we can do is create reroute nodes, and these act like train stations along the path to the different destinations. So if I hit Shift and right drag over, so you'll see I get like a little knife looking thing when I do that, I get a reroute node. This is not too dissimilar from if you control and drag, you cut it. So if you didn't know that, control drag cuts, and let me undo that, and shift drag creates a reroute node. Now, if you try to grab your reroute node and move it, you'll find that you can't because it's assuming that when you're dragging off a reroute node, you want to add it to something else, like connecting it to something. It's giving me a connector. To move a reroute node, you hit G on your keyboard and your mouse becomes sort of the movement widget for the reroute node. So I'm going to move that there, and I'm going to take this and replace the color. So if I scoot this here, hit that, hit G, now that's a lot cleaner and easier to follow, at least for me. Everyone has their own way. So another thing I might now want to do is kind of reduce this section down because the color is going off to 4 places. So what I'm going to do is create some reroute nodes here and here, and you can unplug these by doing that. You can unplug them by cutting them, but however you do it, then I can drag off of my reroute nodes and connect these over and just give them a little bit of organization. I can also create another little train station stop here by doing that and reroute the reroute nodes. So now I should just go and line that up like that. Now that is a little bit cleaner in terms of telling me what is going where here. And I like that. And I can start moving things around and like really fussing with, compacting this in a bit. Does it need to be this big of a space? I mean, it's in a frame. I can move the whole frame now. But that is some ways that we can really start to organize what we're doing. So to do a quick review, we've talked about how to make frames by dragging over, right-clicking, join in new frame. We have talked about how to change the name of our frame and the color of our frame so that it's easier to identify what they are on our Blender workspace. We've also talked about how to create reroute nodes to sort of rejoin the nodes to make them be a little easier to follow visually. We've also talked about how to cut and move those reroute nodes so that if we need to reposition them, we can do that too. So I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that it has made dealing with shaders and the shader node map less daunting, because this can be a very daunting area in Blender, but once we start working out decals and color swaps and things like that, being able to leverage these layers is going to really make texture painting and making really beautiful complex textures much easier. It's easier than you think it is. So hopefully this is a good introduction to that. Get you started, get you organized. And that's all I have for this video, so take care and good luck. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba.